Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's K-E-S-H-W-A-N-I, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for GMAT. We have been solving GMAT math problems out of this book here, GMAT Review, the official guide, the 13th edition. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problem that we are about to solve is the one that you will find on page number 291. Please turn to it. Page number 291, today's our lesson number 240, problem number 172 is what we're going to do. In problem 172, they are simply asking us if n is an integer. Let's see what they tell us. In the first statement they tell us that n squared is an integer. Is that enough for us? Is that enough for us to be able to tell whether or not n itself is an integer? Well, let's find out. You see, n, for example, n could be the square root of 3. N could be square root of 3, in which case n squared would be square root of 3 squared, which is 3. So we are fulfilling the condition that is given in the problem itself, which says n squared is an integer, which it is. N squared is an integer, but n itself is not an integer. And this is not an integer. Or n could be something like this, or n could be square root of 4. In which case n is an integer, and so is n squared. When you square, so is n squared. We can't really tell here. N could be a perfect square, or n could be not a perfect square. A perfect square would be like a 4 or 9 or 16, something like that. Or n could be a square root of 5. If n is the square root of 5, then n squared is an integer, but n itself is not. The first statement is not enough. A, D, B, C, E. Because we found out just now that the first statement does not do the job, we know now, answer cannot be B, C, or E. Now listen, we are approaching towards the end of the whole thing here, towards 174, to just the end of the game here. If you still do not know what the hell I just did here, it is time that you watch the introduction. Just type in this tag, data sufficiency intro, along with my name, and you will find this video and watch it. This will explain to you how you should set up these problems and how you should keep track of the answer choices. Do you understand? There is a system to it. This is how we break it up. I'm not going to go into it right now, obviously. Watch the introduction where you will learn probably something useful. Let's do the next statement. Second statement, they tell us that n squared is an integer. Well, there you go. N squared is an integer. Or rather, a square root of n is an integer. If square root of n is an integer, for example, they just told us that square root of n is an integer, well, then n must be an integer, because what's going to happen is this. If n is an integer, if square root of n is an integer, let's call it k, then when you square both sides, then n must be an integer, because the square of this quantity here, k squared, is an integer, because k itself is an integer. That's all. As we just saw here, if k itself is an integer, k squared is going to be an integer. As we just saw here, the square root of 4 is an integer, then obviously the square of that quantity is also going to be an integer. Simple enough. Second statement is sufficient. The first statement was not. Therefore the answer is, the first statement was not sufficient? Oh geez, I made a mistake then, you see? The first statement was not sufficient. A, D, B, C, E. I was so busy in giving you the sermon about watching the video and making sure that you keep track of the answer choices, that in the process I myself lost track of the bloody thing. Which is what happens here. You have to remember what these answer choices mean and what to throw away and what to keep. When the first statement turned out that the first statement was not sufficient, I should have crossed out A and D. If the first statement by itself is not sufficient, answer cannot be A, because that's what A stands for. A says that the first statement by itself is sufficient. If it's not, then answer cannot be A. It also cannot be D, because D stands for the fact that each statement by itself is sufficient. Well, if you just ruled out the first statement as being insufficient, it rules out answer choice D also. Answer would have to be either B, C, or E at that stage in the game. Now we just found out that second statement actually does work, and therefore the answer is B. I can't believe it. I can't believe I made that boo-boo. Let's do the next problem, shall we? It's the excitement, you see. the excitement of getting to the penultimate problem. The excitement of getting to the penultimate problem. That's the word here. It's pronounced penultimate, which is just a fancy way of saying second to the last. I don't have my vocabulary list right now. I cannot tell you which day we learned this word, but if you go and watch my vocabulary videos at my channel, you will learn this word. I think it was day number 4, if my memory serves me right. Penultimate, second to the last problem is what we're about to do. Number 173. Let's take a look at it. It says x, y, and z are positive integers. Alright, fair enough. X, y, and z are positive integers. I'm good for that. Let's cross out this part here so that we don't get confused. Again, the question simply is x minus y odd? Very simple, very straightforward question. As I always tell you, the questions in these data sufficiency sections do tend to be very simple and straightforward. It is the answers that get prickly. Statement number 1 tells us that x equals to z squared. But knowing that x is equal to z squared, knowing that x equals to z squared, x, y, and z, now we know that x equals to z squared, is that going to be enough for us to be able to tell what is x minus y? Obviously not. We know nothing about y, to say nothing of the fact that we do know now that x equals z squared, but what the hell is z? This is not enough. First statement by itself is not enough. A, D, B, C, E. Because we just found out that the first statement is not enough, we will not cross out B, C, and E. We'll cross out A and D. First statement is not enough. Let's look at second statement. In the second statement they tell us, let's look at second statement. Second statement tells us that y equals to z minus 1 whole squared. Again, this by itself is not going to do anything. You could substitute y in place of z, and you could substitute z minus 1 whole squared in place of y, but then what good would it do? We have to find out what is x minus y. We still do not know what x is, and we still don't know what the hell z is. It doesn't do anything. Second statement by itself is also not sufficient. At that point you cross out answer choice B. Okay, what I'm about to say is nothing earth-shattering, but you might find it helpful. Have a system, have a system of your own that you stick to. The system that I have is this: A, D, B, C, E. Now, first time around, when I cross out, either you're going to cross out these two or those three. But first time around, when I cross out the answer choices, I just use one line. Second time around, when we did just second statement is not enough, to make a point, to make it very blatant, to make it very conspicuous of the fact that this was the second stage of the game, I cross it out like this. That tells me that there was a different game. There was a different reason. Second statement by itself is not enough. Now you're left with either C or E. At this point in the game, you have to make a call. You have to make a call, because when you have to put them together sometime, the questions tend to be very tricky. And if nothing clicks, or if you feel that it's going to take you too long to analyze it, it's okay. Be a gambler. Take a 50-50 chance, pick one and move on. Answer is either C or E. So let's look at two of them together. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to be willing to lose some battles in order to win the war. You understand? So let's put them together. You hear me say all these words of wisdom, it's only because I like Chinese food. Understand? Yes, because I like Chinese food, I get to read a lot of fortune cookies. It is from there that I come up with these words of wisdom. It should be words of wisdom, not wisdoms, not plural. Anyway, let's put them together. X equals to z squared and y equals to z minus 1 squared. Oh, there you go. Now we can express this whole bloody thing, in terms of one variable. We have x in terms of z, we have y in terms of z. We can put them together in terms of one variable, and perhaps we'll get someplace. Let's do it here. So x minus y is what we're looking for. X minus y. X we know is z squared. Y we are told is z minus 1 squared. Let's open this thing. Z minus 1 squared, which is same as a minus b whole squared. which is same as a minus b whole square, which is z squared minus 2z plus 1, and this is z squared. Let's open it again. Z squared minus z squared, this negative and this negative will become positive. It's 2 times z and a negative 1. Oh, this is interesting. Z squared drops out and we are left with 2z minus 1. Let's do it on the top, 2z minus 1. So what we are left with at the very end is this quantity right here. So it turns out that x minus y, when you analyze it, it boils down to 2z minus 1. And the question was, is it odd? That's all they were looking for. Is this difference, x and y, odd? Well, let's find out. 2 times z, it doesn't matter whether z is odd or even. Even number times an even number is an even number times an odd number is an even number. When you multiply a number by 2, it becomes even. It doesn't matter whether the number itself is even or odd. 3 times 2 is 6, which is an even number, and 4 times 2 is 8, which is an even number. So this quantity here is an even number. This is an even number. 1, of course, is an odd number. So what do we get when we have even minus odd? And if you don't have to memorize this thing, you understand it only takes a fraction of a second to figure it out. Make up an even number. 4 minus 3 is 1, is an odd. 5 minus 2 is 3, is odd. Even minus odd is odd. Voila. As a matter of fact, we didn't actually have to do it out because we really don't give a damn whether it turns out to be even or odd. The question is, there is a definitive answer here. The question was, is x minus y odd? To which the answer, we have to be able to give an answer, yes it is, no it is not. And once we get to this stage, even minus odd is either even or odd, we really don't care. The question is, we will be able to tell, the point here is that we will be able to tell, is x minus y odd? We would be able to tell, yes it is, no it is not. That's all it is. We just have to give an answer, a definitive answer. It doesn't have to be an affirmative answer. It could be affirmative or negative, yes or no. We have no emotional attachment to this thing. That's it. So putting the two statements together actually does do the job. The answer is C. The answer is C. Listen, I'm not going to save the very last one for one video. Let's finish it up. Let's get it out of the way. Number 174. Let's go for it. Let's go for the hat trick. I'm going to, even though I just told you that I'm going to do it right now, I'm just going to quickly, I'm still here, I'm not going anywhere. I just want to see how much time I've taken. Oh boy, we are 13 minutes into it. Let's finish up the last one. Marsha's bucket can hold a maximum of how many liters of water? Without touching. Nice to know that she has a blasted bucket. Capacity of bucket is what we're looking for, and these are the kind of things that keeps one awake at night, wondering about Marsha's bucket. Let's see what they tell us. The bucket currently contains 9 liters of water. What the hell? That's not going to tell us the capacity. Bucket now has 9 liters. No. Knowing the fact that bucket, she has a bucket and that contains 9 liters right now, obviously it warms the cockles of one's heart, but it doesn't really actually tell us what the capacity of the blasted thing is. Does it? No, it does not. First statement is no good. A, D, B, C, E. First statement is no good, therefore we know now answer cannot be A or B. A or D. Let's look at second statement. Maybe second statement will get us someplace. And in order to go to second statement, I'm going to actually erase this part here. I'm going to erase all of it actually. Let's start from the very top. Second statement tells us that if 3 liters are added when bucket is half full, the level rises by a third. You must pay attention to all the words, all the wordings here. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. Now, if nothing clicks in your mind right away as to what they are talking about, draw a little picture. It's always a good idea to draw a little picture. Again, it only takes a 5 or 10 seconds to actually draw the bloody thing. So here we go. Here's my bucket. The bucket doesn't have to be pretty, but I'm going to make it a little bit pretty just for your sake, so that it looks like a bucket. There you go. Here's my bucket, and it's half full right now. This is the half mark. And then it says that I pour some water into it, and as a result, the level rises by a third. Since they're talking about the level rising by a third, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually break this into thirds. So here we have 3 parts here, and then it rises by another third, which means the full capacity of the bucket is right here. This is the full part, and apparently they're dividing it into 6 parts. And it was here right now, and it rises by a third. It rises by a third of its original level of water, which was half mark. And this represents this part that I just drew here. This represents 3 liters. What do you gather from that? What we gather is that a third. What we gather, we can actually do it out just by looking at the pictures here. That the 3 liters must represent what is this? What is this thing as a fraction of the whole thing? It's not third of the bucket, because the whole entire bucket is being broken up into 6 parts. 1, 2, 3. These are the 3 thirds in the one bottom half, and then 4, 5, and 6. So 3 liter represents 6 of the capacity. That's all we are done. Capacity is 3 times 6 or 18 liters. Voila. You could do it like this, like we just did, or you could do it a little bit more in a fancy way and make a note here that the third, we are told that it rises by a third of the original level. Therefore, third of half equals 3 liters, which is the exact same thing what we did here. A third of half, you will write it like this. A third of means multiply. Half. A third of a half is same as a sixth. A sixth of the capacity represents 3 liters. If the sixth of the capacity is 3 liters, obviously the entire thing is 3 times 6 or 18 liters. Therefore, the second step actually does the job beautifully. The answer is B. The answer is B. Listen, I'm going to take a few seconds of your time here to make some closing comments here. I started this project of doing I decided to do entire, I had done before, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I had done some problem solving questions from the 10th edition, not the 10th edition rather, the 11th edition. This is the 13th edition that I'm holding in my hand. So I had done the problem not from the previous edition, but the 11th edition. I had done every single problem solving questions from the 11th edition. And when the 12th edition came out, I did nothing. And in the 11th edition, I did not do any data sufficiency problems. So I decided to do this time, just for fun of it, just for the hell of it, because this is what I do for a living. I'm a tutor. I tutor for GRE, GMAT, SAT, as you can see here. So I decided to do all of them and put them on the YouTube. I started the project on July 18th of 2012. And today, as I stand, is September 25th. And when I started, I thought it was going to take me a month or so. In reality, it ended up taking me a hell of a lot more than 2 months. And I'm still not quite done yet, because even though this is the last data sufficiency question, I have not finished doing the problem solving questions. Data sufficiency questions, as you can see, is day number 240. All the even numbers are data sufficiency questions. All the odd numbers are problem solving questions. Let's make a note here. And then I'll tell you, even numbers are data sufficiency questions. And odd numbers are problem solving questions. But the easiest and simplest way, of course, is to just type in GMAT 13th edition and whatever the problem number that you're looking for. This is the notation that I've been using. Problem solving would be PS 147. Data sufficiency, this one is a what number was this? 174 something was it? 174. So this will have a tag of DS 174 without the space. Data sufficiency 174 with the 13th edition in it, so that you don't end up looking at the all editions. And that was it. I still have to finish the problem solving questions. Listen, if you need more help, obviously you're preparing for GMAT. If you need more help, if you're stuck on something, if you need to get hold of me, go to my website here. These are the website addresses that you see here. Just type in prepforgmat.com, or you can simply type in my name, www.keshwani, which is my last name, keshwaniprep.com, and you will find there a link for emails. Send me an email and I will get back to you, and I will try to help you as much as I can. Alright? Good luck to you on the exam, and good luck to you in your career. Bye now.